Welcome to Mazzy's Mix number 30. 30. God, 30 of these. Done a lot of videos and 30 mixes. Maybe it doesn't stack up to whack-a-moles and those, but this is where I combine new releases and records maybe other people, viewers and friends have sent me. Sometimes I showcase a book or something music related or a little mini venture outside of the vinyl library, vinyl room, CD room. This is the 40th anniversary of the compact disc, October 1982. And this episode, in theory, is 100% compostable. See this bag? This is what you get if you buy a t-shirt. Your t-shirt, what t-shirt are you talking about, Mazzy? Your t-shirt will arrive mailed to you in this postmodern, hipster, liberal-leaning compostable bag. I mean, it's good for the environment, and there's a lot of shit going on in the environment these days with, God, what happened in Florida, the fires in the West. Oy, oy, oy. So, this is the t-shirt, okay? Now, before somebody rants, I've already had this on Instagram. Follow me, Mazzy's Music on Instagram. Follow me there. I showed this yesterday. Now, this is the first one I've done, and I might do one a year and pick a different artist each year. Now, nepotism goes a long way. Joseph Maslov, my son, illustrator, animator, storyboard artist, did this. Now, someone said, doesn't look even anything like you, Mazzy. Well, it's a caricature. Think R. Crumb, right? The vinyl community. Mazzy loves you. Now, I just printed up a small batch edition. Another liberal wanking name encompasses single origin. Basically means we can charge you more because we're only doing a few of them. So I started out printing 50 of these shirts. So there'll probably be about 45 for sale because there's a couple people in my immediate family-ish local who are getting these shirts. But we're gonna see how this goes. And if there's a demand, I will up it and print more and send them out more. So I'm not announcing how to buy it yet. That'll be announced probably next week through my Instagram, and maybe I'll do a video sending you over there. Now, here's the deal. The first batch I did a small, very few mediums, about a dozen to 15 larges, extra larges, and double extra larges. Now, I know some people just like those boxy, big old t-shirts that, heavy metal people wear. And in my mind, this is sort of the style of at the merch table at an indie show. These are printed on canvas, Bella canvas t-shirts. These are my favorite. They're the lighter kind of shirts, but I like them. They're 50-50 more or less. They're not 100% cotton, so they are pre-shrunk. They won't shrink. Now, these tend to run slightly small. Now, just to give you an idea, this beautiful physique you see in Mazzy, I'm wearing a large. I am 5 foot 11 and a half inches, weighing it at 185 pounds. My shoulders are sort of small, but there's still room. And this has been washed. This one has been washed, and it still kind of clings nicely. Mazzy loves you. Vinyl community. It's a kind of a grayish, a medium to dark gray, not super dark. That's all we're going to have right now. In the US, these will ship for $28. $28 shipped. Includes postage, includes a 100% compostable bag. I mean, getting a black bag like this in the mail, man, your postal carrier is gonna just like cream in his jeans when he throws this on your front porch or tries to stuff it in the mailbox. I'm not sure yet about European and out of US orders yet. I have to figure this because I only have a limited number of sizes. I'll probably do it initially through PayPal, and I'll send them out in the next week or so, depending on the orders I get. Here's what I'm thinking. If I get more orders of different sizes I don't have, I'm going to have to reorder right away. The turnaround time's about 2 weeks. So you can put in the comments do you mind if you put an order in if you have to wait 3 weeks to get it? I don't like to do that, but I'm not doing the on-demand companies because I'm trying to keep it small batch at this point, which means it's hipster. Um, Maybe later I'll change into another style or color, but I'm not doing that right now. So what you see is what you get. This is the Mazzy style. This is the vision of the artist. Remember that video I did of Bruce Springsteen? People's heads are exploding now because the second Bruce Springsteen song from his upcoming Soul covers album just dropped this morning. And on the forums, people hate it. They hate it. He covers this kind of middle of the road 1985 song by the Commodores. I think it's kind of fun, but whatever. That's another story. So anyway, I'm curious what you feel like about this. Now you don't have to commit, but put it in the comments. Only those of you who would consider ordering a shirt, just say yes and the size: small, medium, large, extra large, double large. I guess if there's triple large and things like that, I will order those too if people feel the need on those. And they run slightly small. I don't think they're super small. I wear a large all the time, and so I didn't get an extra large since I wear a large. So that, and I have a little bit of that middle-aged gut, even though I'm a senior citizen, no longer middle-aged. Typical guy, but I'm considered slender. So there you go, large. If you're big shoulders, I don't know. No returns. All sales are final. 100% compostable. Right there, it's worth it, I think. Anyway, tell me your thoughts on that. So, okay, I'm going to start Mazzy's mix now with a book. And this is a book written by Ronald Light called Petal Culture. He sent me this, the publisher sent me this as a comp. So it is a freebie. It retails at $29.95. You can. I'm not selling it here through my site, but I think you can either buy it through the publisher, or my guess is Amazon and all your local bookstores, if you have local bookstores where you are. This is a really cool book. Now, I was showing this book virtually to my friend Jashid Brooks, who's more into guitars and pedals. He's in San Francisco, and I think in 2017-18 there was a show, a live of actual art show of pedals, or a museum type of show at San Francisco State University, the alma mater of myself and Jashid Brooks. And this show happened. And Brooks when I showed him this, he told me he saw the show like 4 or 5 years ago. And if you know pedals, and it talks about these pedals, it looks like it tells a story of each one of these kind of various pedals for guitar players. What do I have? I don't have many. Here's one I have. This is a trio. This is kind of a cool effects pedal. I also have one that's like a sitar pedal. So I'm not a expert on these pedals, but this is one cool ass book. Let me show you a few more pages. Attack Release Filter, 2015. Fuzzy Muff Petting Zoo. I'm not quite sure what to make on that. Oh, Big Muff. Oh, there we go. Okay. You get the idea. So a lot of pedals, description of the pedals, who manufactured it, what they sound like. There are certain posters and ephemera related to the guitar pedal thing. Guitar pedals are a big collector's thing. They're traded. Some end up being worth a lot of money. Again, it's something I don't know. Is that Charles Manson? Oh, yeah. That is Charlie Fuzz. Charlie Fuzz, there we go. I wonder if his estate gets royalty. Psycho Flange. This is a really cool ass book. Throne Torture. Anyway, I want to thank Ronald Light, who watches the channel. He watched the channel and he reached out to me and sent me this. And this is something I really think is really cool. As you know, I love art. I love art books. I like the mix of art and music, and fantastic. So Backbeat Books. I have some Beatle-related books that they published, I believe, over the years. So highly recommended. I love it. I wouldn't be showing it if I didn't like it. Just because I get some doesn't mean I'm going to show it. Except for these people who've been sending me things out of the kindness of their heart. Okay, there's this ragtag team of new jazz fans, somewhat new, to the vinyl community of YouTube, and they are the Jazz Bumps, literally the Jazz Bumps. It's Chris, Mike and Felipe. And I'll put a link below. I've been on a couple of their live streams. Usually they're 5 o'clock Pacific Friday evenings. They do some group videos and separate videos, and it's kind of a good way. It's actually really good for people who are new into jazz as well, because it's not intimidating. They're not snooty jazz fans by any stretch. But Felipe reached out to me and sent me these 2 really cool albums. I have them, but I don't have these. Now, how many copies of Revolver do I have? A lot. These are Brazilian pressings. I do not have Brazilian pressings, and that's where the collector mentality comes in. They're not audiophile. They're things I'll just collect because of the variations of the country variations. And there you see Fotografia de Contracapa by Robert Whitaker. That's the back photo. Diseño de Capa, Klaus Vormann, and Produzido por Jorge Martin, George Martin. I butchered that, but thank you so much. These are really cool. You want to see the label? There you go, EMI. This looks like they're not original pressings. I don't know the history of when things, my guess is these are more 70s. I could be wrong. Oh, 1985. So they're 80s. 80s pressing, 1985. So just as CDs came out, these are probably close to the last Brazilian pressings of vinyl, but I don't know. But anyway, thank you so much, Felipe, for that. Obviously, there's a letter outlining the history. And again, I've met so many wonderful people in a vinyl community, and it's great. Now, there's another fellow gentleman that I've become friends with who lives in Pasadena, California, and that is John Moreno. Pasadena? Is he in Pasadena? From East LA, Southern California. I should know this, but John Moreno, we've chatted a few times. And one of these records I used to have, and I haven't had them in years. First one is Viva Tarado by El Chicano. This was on Cap Records originally. And this is a wonderfully beautiful, soulful Latin record. Around the times of obviously Santana, and then it begat and Malo, and there was that whole rock and roll, Latin fusion, soulful, jazzy music. And this record, my guess is this is what was this 1971 or 2 is my guess. I think it's that early. But I used to have this record, don't have it anymore. But thank you for this. I just played it, and it's really great. The other one, and I remember seeing this record. We used to sell this record, and I don't have to unveil it. I haven't really opened this copy yet. I've never heard this record, but we used to sell this record. And this is Jose Cepito Arias. And he was obviously one of the percussionists for the original Santana band. So I saw them play many times, that band with Michael Shreve and Carlos Santana and Cepito as well. So my guess is this is a very percussive album. I have not listened to it yet, but again, John, thank you. Very generous of you. And I love that stuff. I mean, a lot of these sort of, East LA bands and music that mixed the Mexican sound with rock and roll and jazz. I love that stuff. And I used to listen to a lot of that stuff too, growing up in San Francisco, and then when I lived 24 years in the Mission District. So there you go. Another person who has reached out to me before and sent me things, and this is William, America's Trucker. I won't say his last name, but he saw these and he thought of me. And he's actually right. Now, I do have one of them, so I'm going to forward one of them that actually played this copy you sent me. It sounds great. It's a really clean copy. I'm going to forward it to the archivist. She loves this record, and she loves this artist, and I do too. He doesn't get a lot of love around here, and that's Josh White. Josh White, blacklisted. He was blacklisted. He was an actor, an activist, a folk singer. He comes from more of the country folk vein. where it's not the Chicago blues type of thing. So it's blues, folk, country blues, country folk. That whole mix. Got a really soothing, beautiful voice. Again, he's performed and acted in films. And this is one of my favorite albums. I have this one already. This is Josh at Midnight. Josh White sings. He opens up with a great rendition of St. James Infirmary, a song I just love. So many variations of that New Orleans tune. It's produced by Jock Holtzman, who started Elektra Records. It was originally a folk label. Of course, it would go on to do great rock things with The Doors and Love into the 60s. But their folk catalog is amazing. You know, Judy Collins and Tom Paxton and maybe was Tom Rush on Elektra for a while. I have those records and I'm a little forgetting right now, but he does a version here of One Meatball, and I didn't learn that song until Ry Cooder put it on his first album, I believe, his first album for Reprise Records, Warner Brothers Reprise. There's also a great version of Joshua Fit the Battle of Jericho. So very kind of traditional folk songs in some ways, but big fan of this, the original Elektra label's sleeve. So thank you, William, for this. I love this, but this one, I am paying it forward, and the archivist will get that copy because I have a lovely copy. He also sent me this one. I do not have this one. This was on Mercury when I have several albums of Josh White on Mercury too. It was after the stuff he did for Elektra Records. So I'm looking forward to this. I haven't listened to this version yet, but this is Josh White, The Beginning. Is this The Beginning? Did I get that wrong? I don't know. I don't know the order, but Josh White. Doesn't look like it's The Beginning in terms of that photograph. I'm gonna send away for this record player right now. Then we go to The Son of, and I've never heard this record, but I thank him for this. This is Josh White Jr., had another series of records. I have one of his albums, very similar in style. This was on United Artists. My guess is this is probably early 70s. Could be, by the look of the label, could be late 69, 70, because I have a bunch of records like this from Traffic on United Artists, this particular label. But thank you for that. And this one I've never heard. And I know Billy Vera, I know him from his 80s sort of resuscitation, but I've never heard this Billy Vera and Judy Clay album, which is on Atlantic Records. So this is kind of cool record. This is from 1968, and this is a cool looking record. So I will dive into this. So thank you, William, for that. Thank you. Shameless promotion. You know, just think of this as an indie band merch table. That's all. Now some new records. These first two were a gift from the Waxed. My friend Rob in Santa Monica, who has an association friendship with the people at Omnivore Records. And he just sent me these two wonderful records. Now, I used to have both of these records in original form. They got purged. Jonathan Richmond and the Modern Lovers. If you don't know his music, two things will probably identify him for you newbies. Road Runner, going 50 miles an hour. That was on their first album, the Modern Lovers album, black cover, yellow type, fantastic record. That was on Berserkly Records, produced by Matthew King Kaufman, who produced both these records. And a later generation might know him from the 1990s film Something About Mary, There's Something About Mary, where he's sort of the troubadour singer who sings throughout the movies out in the steps, singing a song, bridging segments of that wonderful Ben Stiller, not Ben Stiller film, that wonderful film with Ben Stiller. It is a Ben Stiller film, but it's a Farrelly Brothers film. Love that record. Anyway, let's talk about these two records. These are really good records. Now, Omnivore is releasing, I think, 5. There's going to be a Record Store Day record coming out from Omnivore. I think I have 4 or 5 other, including his later solo stuff, which I like. Quirky style. My guess, if you don't know him, he very much influenced artists like Violent Femmes, that almost acoustic-like sound. He's snarkier, he's funnier. He's got this edge where he drifts in strange areas of songs, song styling, song thematic storylines, and it works for him. These two records were recorded in San Francisco at Columbia Studios on Folsom Street. Doesn't exist anymore. It was one of the premier studios in San Francisco until I think the late 70s, late 70s probably. It was sold to David Rubinson, the producer. He was like a staff, freelance, I think, producer for Columbia. Did Santana, did Pointer Sisters, and he bought it and renamed it the Automat. But these are produced by Matthew King Kaufman and Glenn Kolotkin. It's like co-produced. And they got a real live feel to them. My guess is they weren't overdubbed. The band's live in the studio because you hear this sort of ambient feel to it. And they're really, really good records. This is Rock and Roll with the Modern Lovers. And this is Jonathan Richmond and the Modern Lovers. Thank you, Omnivore, and thank you for these, Rob. Here's a mini jazz segment, the monthly Tone Poet records. Of course, Tone Poet is the great reissue wing from Blue Note Records. Joe Harley curates these, and two great guitar records. Feel in the Spirit, Grant Green with Herbie Hancock. Billy Higgins on drums, Butch Warren on bass, and Garvin Massot on tambourine. Wow, I just noticed that. Okay. Easy records. These are very accessible records, not heavy, not deep, not out there. Go Down Moses, Motherless Child. So it's, Joshua Fit the Battle with Jericho. Who would have thought I did one video with two versions of that song in the same video? Now that I think about it, I played this and the Josh White record last night, and that song, played twice. Wow. There you go. Of course, these records have these wonderful Francis Wolff archive photographs curated by Michael Kuskuna, who owns the archive, and then Kenny Burrell. Love this record. Again, easy, very accessible. It starts out with a song called Get Happy that's very percussive. And what's interesting about it, it's got Candida on conga drums. And it almost sounded, I thought, God, is this at 45? Because it sounds very fast out the gate. So I thought I was playing at the wrong speed. It's got this fabulous illustration cover designed by Andy Warhol. That alone makes it even that much greater. Of course, it's the music, not just the artwork, but I love this artwork. Ooh, you like that crack. Again, a fantastic record. There's solo Kenny Burrell, there's group Kenny Burrell, different configurations, and it's got this one has a very Latin sound, and it's called Kenny Burrell, just Blue Note 1543 on a Tone Poet. Get it now, these are fantastic. Very accessible, easy on the ears, nothing deep, nothing intense, but beautiful releases. And another archival release is from Analog Africa, and this is Ernesto Dejeje, and this is an artist who was very influenced by Fela Kuti in the 60s and into the 70s. These were recorded, I believe, around 1977, 78. I'm all in on Analog Africa, and they do a great reissue series. Every 2 to 4 months, another title comes out. And they're these great archival series from all throughout the continent of Africa, South America, and beyond. And they're just wonderful records. Sometimes they use needle drops, sometimes they find tapes, and they're not audiophile creations, but they're fantastic with their liner notes, with their photographs, with their archival restoration. And I get these, I pretty much grab every one I can. I buy them through Bandcamp, so you can find Analog Africa on Bandcamp. Good record, very good record. Fun record, danceable, soulful. Their records tend to be just really joyous records and joyous music, and that's what these things are about. I grab any one. Sometimes I go down and grab 5 of these and play them all night, and it's just a fantastic musical listen from Analog Africa. So the last several years have been an ongoing reissue program of from the band Japan, David Sylvian, and they're wonderful records. I first saw Japan in 1978, my first trip. I just happened to stumble in this club called Dingwalls, and Japan was playing, and they were sort of more of a glam band then, but they really morphed into something really, really special. This record has just been reissued. Half Speed Master. I've never had this album on vinyl, but this is a comp, and most of the songs are from 2 Japan albums. Then they include a couple of some B-sides, some outtakes, alternate versions, singles. But most of the songs are from 2 of the best albums by Japan, and that is Tin Drum and Gentlemen Take Polaroids. Now, this is an original UK pressing. This is a later European pressing. So I haven't compared these, but this sounds really good. I know Michael, 45, in his video compared this to an original UK and says the original is better. This is good if you don't listen to the original. Most people aren't comparing records, so I'd say if you like this, check it out. It's a great comp. It's a double album. And it's a great group, Japan. This might be an interesting introduction if you don't know Japan, know that great period, but I would say Gentleman Takes Polaroids and Tin Drum are 2 records that are really, really wonderful and worthwhile. I'm going to put a link in the description below. I did a video a year or 2 ago on David Sylvian in Japan, and check that out and you can kind of get an overview of all their albums and their releases, or at least the ones I have, most of them. So Mazzy thanks you for watching this 100% compostable edition of Mazzy's Mix. Thank you for watching, and keep an eye out if you're interested. Put it in the comments below. If you were interested, what size would you want? I'm trying to get a barometer here. And would you mind waiting up to, say, 3-ish weeks once you commit and pay? Thank you. Mazzy loves you.